I, the wife of a diligent minor official. I gave up when my husband took a concubine. I'm going back to inherit the throne. Xie Canghuai froze. Stop being ridiculous. Jealousy has its limits. I said I wasn't being ridiculous. I truly have a throne to inherit. The position of emperor's consort cannot be given to you. But you can start as a concubine. He thought I was crazy and locked me up in the estate. Me? Can't I just be happy? Do I have to summon 8,000 secret guards and give them a seductive smile? I called Xie Canghuai over and told him, "You can't take this concubine." Xie Canghuai frowned. Why? I honestly replied, "Because I need to go back and inherit the throne." Xie Canghuai was dumbfounded. What? I cleared my throat and told him, "I am the biological daughter of the late Empress Dowager Xuanmu, the younger sister of the current emperor, the niece of General Bai, who commands the million-strong army of the northern frontier, the soon-to-be crowned Princess Suining, the imperial princess." I blurted it all out in one breath. Xie Canghuai was speechless. Aren't you the daughter of a hunter from Lin village? I snorted derisively. A princess must conceal her identity when away from home. Don't you understand that? Xie Canghuai, I said. From now on, you must not look directly at me or sit down to speak with me. Xie Canghuai instinctively stood up. Then he stood in front of me, holding back for a while. Our family has produced a princess. Such great news. I must go tell my mother. After saying that, he ran off. As he left, he tripped over something. He shouted, "Mother! The lady has gone mad." Soon after, Xie's mother arrived. She took out a handkerchief and shook it skillfully. "My son." I interrupted her. "There are proper ranks and titles. I dare not address you that way." Xie's mother ignored me and started crying again. "Mother knows that back then, you two were married and said you would be devoted to each other. But you've been childless for 10 years. Based on that alone, we could have divorced you. You can't be so ungrateful." She spoke passionately, letting out a muffled cry. She quickly covered her face with the handkerchief, peeking out with one eye, her gaze carrying a hint of warning. I felt a pang of guilt and said, "The matter of children is indeed my fault toward your family." Xie's mother, That's more like it. But it's not that I can't have children. Xie's mother panicked for a moment. "Don't tell me you're trying to turn the tables on me?" I hurriedly explained, "It's not that your son can't have children. Don't worry." Xie's mother sighed in relief. I added, "It's just that your family's status is too low to be the family of my eldest son and daughter." Xie's mother. I added, "But now it's different. I'm going back to inherit the throne." With Xie Canghuai's background, only these 10 years of loyalty can be his ticket to the palace. Rest assured, I'll at least secure him a position as a concubine. In an instant, Xie's mother also stood up and rushed out. Soon, I heard her shouting outside, "Son, your wife has gone mad. Divorce her immediately." The first attempt at communication failed. How annoying. "I'm busy right now. Xie Canghuai is the county magistrate of San Yuan, and I am now the matriarch of the Xie family. In a small border town like San Yuan, every autumn harvest, the returning soldiers from beyond the border would raid the town. Over the years, I have repaired waterways, reorganized farmland, protected caravans, and even dug tunnels throughout the city to hide the people. Autumn is the time for inspections and patrols. In previous years, Xie Canghuai couldn't help much, so I understood that as a scholar. He wasn't suited for physical labor and let it go. Now my elder brother has chosen this moment to demand my return. And to make matters worse, Xie Canghuai has also chosen this moment to announce his intention to take a concubine. The last prince who took a concubine was executed by decapitation. I tried persuade him, but he wouldn't listen. Destruction awaits. I'm tired. After a short while, I sent Xie Tao to bring Xie Canghuai a bowl of bird's nest soup and tell him to come over tonight to discuss it further. Xie Tao's expression was as if she had eaten something disgusting. Because she wasn't a real maid, she was an imperial messenger sent from the capital to deliver messages to me. Her official rank might even be higher than Xie Canghuai's. I don't care if she's arrogant or here to spy on me. I only see her talent. Since she's here, she must serve me like a beast of burden. After half a month of being tormented by trivial matters, her eyes have grown increasingly clear. She dared not resist before. But today, she suddenly wanted to resist. So she squatted at my door and ate the bird's nest soup I had sent to Xie Canghuai. She didn't even bother to hide and eat it. When I caught her, she was terrified. Clearly, even though I'm not in the capital, my reputation still reaches there. I couldn't help but laugh. Xie Tao. I smiled and said, "Is that enough? The little girl is only 16 years old, and this is her first time leaving home so far to carry out such a task. My imperial brother is truly inhumane. Come in. I'll give you some more." I had someone go to a nearby restaurant and bring back a lot of delicious food for her. Xie Tao had been eating coarse food with me for half a month and was so excited she was about to cry. As the daughter of the Xie family, the greatest hardship she had ever experienced before was the hardship of studying and practicing martial arts. She stuffed her mouth full again and again. Her guard was down, and she blurted out, "Why is it that only the Xie family gets to eat bird's nest?" I said, "It's because my mother-in-law is old. My husband injured his internal organs saving me, so he needs to eat bird's nest to recover." Xie Tao. Seeing her like this, I found it amusing. I thought back to when I first went into exile. She must have been only 3 years old then. So I asked, "How did the news about me spread in the capital?" Xie Tao hesitated at first. I teased her a bit, and after she had eaten her fill, I coaxed the story out of her. She said, "It's said that on the day the princess was born, the purple star reversed its course into the position of the broken army star, and the 7th star of the Big Dipper, Yao Guang, fell 3 feet to the ground." I nodded. That's true. Back then, when I was born, I was labeled with the tyrant fate. But at that time, my mother was still alive, so no one dared to say anything. What Xie Tao said next was even more outlandish. They say that when the princess was choosing her future at the cradle ceremony, she grabbed a white jade tablet and a black iron sword. Blood patterns appeared on the tablet, and the sword sheath emitted a dragon's roar, shattering the 12 palace lamps in the hall. I did grab the white jade tablet and the black iron sword, but the rest is pure nonsense. She continued. When the princess was 7, she accompanied the general to the training ground for a martial arts demonstration. With a single arrow, she pierced through 3 layers of armor, and when the arrowhead embedded itself in the target, it split open to reveal the character Xie. If you can't shoot better than me, just admit it. Where did this Xie character come from? There's something even more absurd. I said, "I don't believe it. How could it be more absurd?" She said there was, according to rumors, that the national preceptor had written my fortune, which was secretly recorded by the grand historian. Before the age of 30, you will ascend to the throne. But on the day of your ascension, blood will flow like a river, and the spirit tablets of your 6 close relatives will be burned in the ancestral temple. Xie Tao finished speaking and was so scared she almost fainted. Looking at her expression, she wished she could tear her own mouth apart. I burst into laughter. That's indeed absurd. She followed suit with a silly smile. Exactly. Your Highness is so kind. So kind that she even thought I was overly weak. I changed the subject, but what you said, at least half of it, is true. Xie Tao's pupils dilated in shock. I smiled. I'll tell you slowly. The matters of the imperial decree and the first birthday ceremony were all true. When I was young, I was indeed different from others, always proclaiming, "I will become emperor one day." And so, back then, my mother was executed, leaving us 3 siblings behind. My eldest brother, the crown prince, was deposed, but he recognized the concubine as his mother and saved himself. My eldest sister was to be married off. But not only was she pardoned, she was also granted a title. Only I was sentenced to death. They said, "The young princess has a violent temper and insatiable desires, she must not be spared." I remember it all. At the time, palace maids covered me with a cloth soaked in poison, while eunuchs read out the imperial edict. My heart cannot bear it. But this girl must not be spared. She must not be spared. I was just a 13-year-old princess. Was I really that terrifying? As it turned out, yes. They were nearly scared to death. It was my eldest sister who rushed in with a sword, carried me on her back, and escaped from the palace. Later, when I regained consciousness outside the city walls, it was my eldest brother standing before me. He said, "From now on, neither I nor your eldest sister will have anything to do with you. If you can live, live. If you cannot, die." Then he turned and left. Even after I was on the carriage, he suddenly pulled back the curtain and said to me, "If you somehow survive and hear the news of my older brother's ascension to the throne, do not come to claim your kinship. The throne will be passed to a dog before it is passed to you." I tried to catch up to him. Unfortunately, my legs couldn't keep up with the carriage, and I couldn't catch him. At that moment, I rested my chin on my hand. At the time, I truly felt so wronged. That year, I was only 13, diligent and hardworking, never even stepping foot outside the palace gates. Cui Tao heard this and said, "Your Majesty, I have also heard in the capital that when the princess was young, whether it was classical texts, etiquette, or military strategy and archery, you were always the best." I smiled, yes. When I was young, I was quite proud of myself. Back then, I was so arrogant, always thinking I could do things others couldn't. The ambitions of youth, wanting to change the world. Until my mother was executed. The wall in front of me collapsed, revealing the true world to me. I realized then that I was their greatest threat. After leaving the palace, I was hunted down by my brothers and sisters. Among them, the 11th princess, born to the empress, was the most relentless. I escaped from her men 6 times, until the 7th time. After days of fleeing in the open, I fell ill and was captured by her men. I still remember her sitting in a small palanquin adorned with peacock feathers, looking triumphant. She said to me, "If you manage to escape this time, I'll take your surname." I was at a loss for words and asked her, "You're ugly enough as it is, why are you so stupid?" She flew into a rage, grabbed my hair, and began beating me. I asked her what I had done to her. Even if our mothers were political enemies, wasn't it her mother who had won in the end? But she said, "Because you always make me feel inferior." She believed that her mother had scolded her for being useless, and that her father and older brother had ignored her. All because of me. At least your mother is dead, and your father doesn't want you anymore. Even your older brother is mine now. In that moment, I was speechless. I, Feng Yunan, was going to be beaten to death for such a reason? So I stabbed her in the heart. Don't even dream about it. My older brother has always loved me the most. She was so angry she beat me mercilessly. This good-for-nothing always skipped school. During the afternoon archery class, she was almost never seen. After beating and scolding me for half a day, she was too exhausted to continue. I managed to overpower her. I escaped. Later, I was forced to flee into the mountains and lived as a wild person for 3 years. Until I was 16. I rolled down a cliff and was saved by Xie Canghuai, who married me. At that time, my father the emperor suddenly died, and my older brother ascended the throne. My older brother's people indeed found me precisely. They brought me a letter with 3 sentences. Since you're already married, be a good wife and mother. Don't go to the palace to claim your royal lineage. The throne won't even be passed to a dog, let alone you. Misfortune never comes alone. 11 followed the trail and found us. She sent people disguised as bandits to capture Xie's mother and son. At that moment, I was on the verge of madness. She was already married, why couldn't she let me go? This time, she came in a small palanquin to show off her power. She didn't even bother to walk a single step. She laughed with her teeth bared. My mother has been crowned Empress Dowager, and I am now the eldest princess. Why don't you just die sooner and be reincarnated as a man next life? Maybe you can become emperor. That time, I didn't curse her. I just humbly knelt before her. If you want to kill me, just kill me. Please spare my husband and my mother-in-law. 11 widened her eyes in shock and laughed out loud. Fong. What are you saying? I bowed my head as low as I could. My brother doesn't want me anymore. I only have them left. 11 seemed to think of something amusing and couldn't stop laughing. Who would have thought that the former jewel of the imperial court would bow down to such an ordinary man for him? She changed her mind. She decided not to kill me. She sent people to monitor me, wanting to see how I would sink into ruin in this life. Over the years, she sure lived a very good life. The emperor doted on her and her daughter. Her prince consort was considerate, and she had a child. She had everything a princess who wasn't too out of line should have. As for me, I spent my days in the kitchen, washing clothes until my hands were frostbitten. And at night, I accompanied Xie Canghuai in his studies while sewing. Finally, 4 years ago, Xie Canghuai passed the imperial examination and was assigned to serve as county magistrate at Sanyuan Station. On the day of his departure, the secret guard who had been watching me appeared before me. I will not accompany the lady to the border. Oh, 11 has finally grown tired of me. From then on, I lived a simple yet happy life. The story is over. Cui Tao couldn't eat anymore. She lowered her head and murmured, You really knelt down for Princess 11 for Xie Canghuai? I looked at the ledger and said, Yes. He saved my life. That's all? What do you mean? That's all? Does that mean my life is worthless? I thought for a moment, why don't you go back alone and report to him? Let my royal brother try harder and have another son. Cui Tao was startled. Your Highness. You can't say such things. I'm doing just fine in Sanyuan. What's so good about there? He wants to take concubines. I thought again, the people in the capital don't want me to go back either. Cui Tao said. But Xie Canghuai wants to take a concubine. These young noblewomen are so headstrong. Since ancient times, has there ever been a woman emperor? Why should I give up my current life and go back to take risks? For a moment, her expression was very complicated. After holding it in for a long time, she whispered, But Xie Canghuai wants to take a concubine. I squinted and smiled. Don't be silly. We're an old married couple. Who cares about that? That day, Cui Tao felt a little dizzy. She also felt a pang of sadness in her heart. So she spoke to a dark shadow at the foot of the wall. I feel that the princess is different from what the rumors say. Why force the concept of destiny onto a woman? It's clearly them who want to kill her. Yet they make it sound so noble. The shadow coldly replied, You've been deceived by her. Cui Tao frowned. I haven't. The shadow said. Who told you that a tyrant must be cruel and ruthless? She can also be gentle and kind. making people feel as though they're bathed in spring breeze. Cui Tao. Do you have any proof? The princess has been cunning and intelligent since childhood. How dare you sympathize with her? Cui Tao lowered her head. The shadow sighed in disappointment. Do your duty properly and don't let the emperor down. That night, Xie Canghuai mustered up the courage to find me again. He smiled awkwardly. Wife. I said. Call me princess. Xie Canghuai's face twisted instantly. Stop joking around. I looked at him without speaking. He had no choice but to comply. Princess. I nodded. Kneel and say it. Xie Canghuai actually knelt down and massaged my feet. Looking utterly obsequious. I was serious. But in his eyes, this was marital affection. Cui Tao. She felt a bit uncomfortable. But I didn't let her leave. So the young lady had no choice but to stay and watch this. I knew he had come to talk to me about taking a concubine. But I didn't expect his next words to be so outrageous. He said, Wife. I mean princess. These past years, you've suffered so much following me to Sanyuan Station. He said I had suffered. But then he started complaining to me. He said he had finally passed the imperial examination but was assigned to this remote county as a magistrate. Isn't that just because he came from a humble background and had no connections? Now, the adopted daughter of the Pingyuan Dao military governor, his superior, has taken a liking to him and volunteered to be his concubine. This is a golden opportunity. Wife. Think about it. If I can use this opportunity to rise in rank, wouldn't you also live a more respectable life? Cui Tao looked at me in disbelief. Don't look at me. I didn't know either. I thought he was as happy as I was in Sanyuan Station. At that moment, I snapped back to reality and could only try to reason with him. Who told you that marrying the governor's adopted daughter would lead to a promotion? The governor has over 100 adopted daughters. They're all orphaned girls from the border regions who've had a tough life. That's why she's willing to be his concubine. Xie Canghuai bit his lip. How will we know if we don't try? I frowned. There's no need to try. You don't have the skills to be a smooth operator or a master of diplomacy. You wouldn't know how to climb the social ladder even if you tried. Xie Canghuai. I continued, and why do you always think you're underappreciated? You're just a third-place scholar in the imperial examination. You're only in the middle to lower ranks of your class. Xie Canghuai's face gradually turned red. I comforted him. But you have an excellent reputation as an official. And Sanyuan is an important military location. You will definitely have a bright future. I was busy all day long, using his name. Now, everyone says that Minister Xie is young and promising. As long as you stay grounded, your blessings will come later. Xie Canghuai stormed off. I was dumbfounded and asked Cui Tao. Did I say something wrong? Cui Tao rolled her eyes. Every word was spot on. Just then, Xie Canghuai returned. Cui Tao. There was nothing else, he just wanted to take a concubine. I said no. He was so angry he started shouting. Then cried like a boiling kettle. I know I promised you a lifetime of devotion. But can't you pity me? I have so much talent with nowhere to use it. I waited for him to finish crying. Then added some fuel to the fire. Husband, you're not as talented as you think you are. Maybe it's what your mother-in-law said. But she can't even read. A mother always sees her son as a future prime minister. But there are always people better than you. He stormed off again. This time, he didn't come back. That night, Cui Tao, who was sleeping under my bed, tossed and turned all night. In the middle of the night, she suddenly murmured to herself, Your Highness, are you really happy? I said, I am quite happy. But I feel that my husband is not very happy. Cui Tao. The next day, I was about to go out. As soon as I walked into the outer courtyard, I saw Xie Canghuai accompanying a young girl with a sword walking in the garden. The two were talking happily. Xie Canghuai suddenly turned his head and saw me. And froze. The girl was very proactive and walked straight past him to me. You must be Mrs. Xie. I am Song Yuer from the military governor's office. I smiled. So you are Miss Song. Xie Canghuai immediately felt guilty and dared not look at me. But I wouldn't put him in an awkward position. So I said, Husband, we have an important guest. But I have to go inspect the autumn harvest today. So I'll leave it to my mother to entertain you. Song Yuer frowned. You? Inspect the autumn harvest? Xie Canghuai hurriedly explained. My wife is skilled in agricultural matters and often takes my place during the autumn inspections. Unbeknownst to him, this remark sparked a surge of jealousy in Song Yuer. She said, I can't compare to my sister. I only have a good family background. Xie Canghuai tried to comfort her. That's not how it is. You're not like her. You can't endure hardships. Cui Tao couldn't hold it in and let out a snort. We looked at her in surprise. Cui Tao said expressionlessly, Sorry. I let out a fart. Please continue. Song Yuer was furious. Xie Canghuai hurriedly said, Yuer, don't be angry. This girl isn't like the maids in your household. She doesn't know proper etiquette. Cui Tao looked at him with disdain. We left the gate. There were two of us on horses. Cui Tao caught up to me. This is too much. He's trying to bypass you and force you to acknowledge her. I said. It was that woman who came to us. Cui Tao angrily said. He's already like this. And you're still protecting him. This blind man. I can't wait to beat him up. But by then, we had already left the city. I let the horse gallop. Her riding skills were much worse than mine. And she was startled. Your Highness. Wait for me. It wasn't until we reached the fields that I stopped. I said. You're still young. Don't let trivial matters upset you. It's rare to come to the border. You should take the time to enjoy the scenery. Over the years, I had worked hard to cultivate the fertile fields of San Yuan. It was harvest season, and the fields stretched as far as the eye could see. The wind rustled the wheat, creating a dreamlike scene. Cui Tao stared blankly into the distance. I explained to her that the land around San Yuan was fertile, suitable for farming within the city walls, and rich in water and grass outside for grazing horses. Moreover, it was adjacent to Huirong, the sworn enemy of the imperial court. About 300 miles from San Yuan was a small city called Meicheng. It was built by the first princess of our dynasty who was sent in a political marriage. 3 princesses had lived there since then. Every descendant of the Feng family dreams of one day leading an army to attack Huirong. If war breaks out, we will be on the front lines. Cui Tao suddenly understood. She turned her head to look at me. So, that's what the princess meant when she was so happy. I nodded. When I first found out I was being transferred to San Yuan, I was so excited I couldn't sleep all night. I just didn't expect my husband to be so wronged. Cui Tao quickly made a sad face. After walking for half a day, Cui Tao and I sat on the edge of a field to rest and water our horses. Just as I opened the water bag to drink, a hot wind suddenly blew by. It flattened the golden wheat fields and brought with it the singing of a group of children. It was too far away for me to hear clearly. But soon, a female voice joined in nearby. The autumn wind rises. The granaries are full. The soldiers return from battle. And the dust is yellow. Grandfather swings his sickle without rest. But the bandits have already knocked on the old wooden wall. The children hide in the haystack, watching the millet being stuffed into the enemy's sacks. Frost covers the path. Snow covers the house. There's no firewood in the stove, and no grain in the pot. This song is about the annual autumn harvest. When the soldiers return from the front and raid the city, there is no idle land in the 3 Yuan region, and even farmers are starving to death. I listened quietly, feeling my blood boil. I turned my head and saw that Cui Tao was crying. I snapped out of my trance and pointed to the woman sitting on the ridge not far away. That's the daughter of the Liu family of Fan Yang, the wife of the Ping Yuan general, whose maiden name is Qiu Ping. Cui Tao's body trembled. Liu Qiu Ping had already seen me. She took off her hat and greeted me cheerfully. Are you the 13th lady? I laughed. It's me. In reality, the general's wife wasn't as unapproachable as Xie Canghuai imagined. I owned a restaurant in the city that specialized in imperial court cuisine, and Liu Qiuping often visited to ease her homesickness. I never expected to meet her here today. However, she didn't know I was the county magistrate's wife. I reminded Cui Tao not to slip up. The Liu family is noble and despises those who climb the social ladder. I don't want her to misunderstand my husband. Cui Tao was so angry that her tears dried up instantly. At that moment, I hurried over and saw that Liu Shi was already visibly pregnant. This time, it was my turn to be stunned. Madam, you. Liu Qiuping laughed heartily and gently stroked her abdomen. Don't worry. I'm not that delicate. I sat beside her and still couldn't help but say, you should still be careful. She waved her hand. As the wife of a scholar, there are many women in more difficult circumstances than me who are raising children. This land nurtures the most resilient lives. Looking at the wheat fields before her, she felt deeply moved. It's rare to have a good official like Minister Xie, but it's a shame that most of this grain will be stolen by the barbarians. It's really infuriating. Cui Tao. Liu Qiuping said that she had come this time to arrange the marriage of one of her adopted daughters. I heard that the matriarch of the Xie family is vulgar and jealous. Have you heard about it? Cui Tao. I replied calmly. No. Liu Qiuping said. Oh. She continued. Although my adopted daughter is not as talented as you, she has read some books and will not disgrace Minister Xie. Cui Tao. Before Cui Tao could get too upset, I changed the subject. I may have to return to the capital soon. Liu Qiuping was taken aback. So suddenly? Before I could answer, she added, well, this place isn't meant for us to stay long anyway. She handed me a jade pendant. It had the character Liu engraved on it. If you ever find yourself in trouble, you can use this jade pendant to find someone from the Liu family. I took it. But I have nothing of value to give you. Madam. Leave your cook at the inn for me. All right. Liu Qiuping laughed, her expression growing somber. The times are turbulent. I fear I cannot see you off. I only hope your journey to the capital is safe and that you have a smooth life ahead. Just after we had bid farewell with reluctance, I met Liu Qiuping again. It was at the Xie household. I hadn't expected this at all. After all, I had repeatedly told Xie Canghuai not to take a concubine. Yet he went ahead and did it anyway. Liu Qiuping had come personally to support her adopted daughter. At the time, I was just about to leave. We bumped into each other. Liu Qiuping was overjoyed. Oh, 13th lady. I thought you had left. Song Yuer? Xie Canghuai? Xie's mother? Only Cui Tao was excited, her eyes sparkling. Cui Tao, pfft. I'm sorry. I just let it slip. I calmly covered her mouth and said, I am Xie's wife. Liu Qiuping was speechless. I said, earlier, I didn't reveal my identity because I was afraid you would misunderstand that my husband was a social climber. Liu Qiuping looked at me, then at Xie Canghuai. And in a moment, her face turned pale. Xie Canghuai looked at his mother for help. Xie's mother was also completely confused. But she sensed that something was amiss with this prestigious marriage. She immediately took the initiative to accuse me, you jealous woman. What did you say to the lady? Then she launched into her usual performance. Lady, please see clearly. This woman was found in the wilderness, and we took pity on her and let her into our home. Who knew she would cause so much trouble? She's just relying on our family's kindness and not wanting to send her to another family. Lady. Not a single word she says can be trusted. Song was also a bit flustered. Mother. Lu Qiuping looked at me and suddenly said, "My daughter will not become a concubine." Huh. Things were developing in a direction I hadn't anticipated. We entered the inner room and sat down. Lu Qiuping said that this adopted daughter of hers was different from the other 99, she had raised her as her own daughter. She had originally been impressed by Xie Canghuai's talent and had allowed her to enter the household as a concubine. But now she had changed her mind. She ordered her subordinates to draft a divorce agreement on the spot and present it to us. Sign this divorce agreement. And from now on, you will be my legitimate son-in-law. I remained seated, motionless. There was no way I could save him in this situation. Lucia was crucial to me, she had 10,000 elite troops. But I had already made it clear earlier that Lucia despised those who sought to climb the social ladder. Lu Qiuping's test was so straightforward and simple. He should. At this moment, Song stepped forward and broke the deadlock. Minister. I am not a narrow-minded person. My sister can stay in the mansion. I'm just taking the title. Xie's mother was immediately overjoyed. My son. You must not disappoint Miss Song and the minister. Xie Canghuai picked up the pen and looked at me again. Cui Tao suddenly shouted. Sign it quickly. What are you waiting for? Startled. Xie Canghuai's hand trembled. And he turned pale, saying, You wicked woman. You're too much. After saying that, he signed the divorce papers in a flourish, threw down the brush, and ran away sadly. The dust settled. I sighed deeply. Sometimes I don't know what to say to him. This shrew he was referring to. I told him he was trying to climb the social ladder but didn't understand how to do it. He didn't believe me. He signed the divorce papers for no apparent reason. Lu Qiuping called me outside. Her eyes were sharp. This boy is a shameless little liar who is only interested in quick success. Because I wouldn't budge. Xie took another approach. Sending someone to the governor's mansion to slander me. They called me a village woman and ignorant and jealous. Xie Canghuai had an excellent reputation. So everyone believed it. But she never expected that I knew Lu Qiuping. Realizing she had been deceived, Lu Qiuping was furious. At that moment, she said, You won't blame me, will you? No. You can't blame me. I'm doing this for your own good. I interrupted her rambling. I don't blame you. In fact, I understood her mindset as someone in a position of power. Lu Qiuping sighed in relief and continued, With your beauty and talent, you could even become a noble woman. Let me go pick out one of my sons for you. I said helplessly. There's no need. She told me not to be stubborn. She insisted on finding me 10 or 8 young men from prominent families for me to choose from, so I could broaden my horizons. Then she jumped up and ran away. What a lively pregnant woman. The happiest person now was Cui Tao. She even wrote a letter to the capital to share the good news. However, as soon as the letter was sent, it was intercepted by the secret guards and brought back to me. I sent her out on an errand and stayed home to forge her handwriting and rewrite the letter. What she had originally written was, The princess has divorced the son of the Xie family and will soon return to her former self. I changed it to, The princess loves the son of the Xie family deeply, but fearing that passion has clouded her judgment, she will no longer be the same as before. I then handed it to the secret guards to deliver. Things had come to this point, I had to make some sort of explanation. I sent Cui Tao away and waited in Xie Canghuai's room for him to return. Who knew he had been fooling around with Song until late at night before coming back? As soon as he opened the door and saw me, he froze for a moment before striking first. Why didn't you tell me you knew the general's wife? Were you trying to make a fool of me? I had been waiting for so long that I was already annoyed, and I didn't bother with the speech I had prepared earlier. I went straight to the point. Is this the outcome you wanted? Xie Canghuai suddenly started to lose his mind. I had no choice. I was born with the talent to become a jinshi. Yet why did you have to give birth to me in such a humble family? Now I will spend my entire life unable to even touch the dust on the feet of those aristocratic families. My mother was right, we shouldn't have married. Dragons beget dragons. And phoenixes beget phoenixes. The son of a mouse will dig holes. Our union is nothing but a curse that will drag our descendants into ruin. By the time he shouted the last sentence, his eyes were red with tears. I listened silently, deep in thought. Seeing me say nothing, he panicked and rushed over to hold my shoulders. 13 lady. Don't do this. I won't abandon you. I'll go beg for a concubine position for you. Yue is a proper lady, she'll agree. Go to hell. By the time I reacted, I had already slapped him hard across the face. I hit him too hard, he seemed to have fainted. Xie Canghuai was knocked unconscious by my slap. But at the same time, I calmed down. Actually, I didn't want to hit him. Cui Tao and Xiu couldn't understand what I saw in him. Even Lu Qiuping thought the same. But matters of the heart are never clear-cut. I met him at the lowest point of my life. They say he's an opportunistic climber. But when he risked his life to save me, I was just a wild girl. That year, he was 18 and I was 16. Teenagers in love don't think about the consequences. Even after our feelings grew distant, I still genuinely hoped he'd be happy. It's hard to pinpoint exactly how we ended up here. But it's clear that if we don't make a decision now, things will only get worse. After waiting for a while, he finally woke up, still looking dazed. He asked blankly, 10, 13? I snapped back to reality and decided to have one last talk with him. Whether you believe me or not, I am indeed a princess. And I have always been sincere with you. When I said I would be with you for the rest of my life, I meant it. But I have a great vendetta to avenge. So I can't keep causing trouble with you here. I told him that my mother was the empress. My eldest brother was the crown prince. And my eldest sister had voluntarily gone to marry into another family. Our family was the most noble in the world. And no one was more loyal and filial than us. What do you think? From being full of vigor and vitality to being as miserable as a stray dog. It only took one night. Your background determines some things. But it doesn't determine everything. From now on, don't wallow in self-pity. Though our marital bond is severed, I've already paved the way for your future. After saying that, I felt a bit sentimental. Xie Canghuai covered his face and slowly crawled toward the door. Me? Mother! She hit me. Me? Cui Tao, whom I had sent out to buy pastries, returned. She had arrived just in time for the commotion. Xie's mother was already causing a scene throughout the mansion, blocking our door. Cui Tao rushed over to block the door and started arguing with her. Xie's mother shouted, "How dare you endanger my son's life?" Cui Tao exclaimed with joy. The prince has finally granted death to that good-for-nothing maid, you wild girl. You're as blind as a pig. Cui Tao said. I think you're blinded by dog shit. And you've stuffed it into your mouth and are chewing it until it smells delicious. Xie's mother was stunned. Xie Lin. Get out here. A loud slap was heard outside the door. How dare you? How do you dare address our prince like that? Cui Tao grabbed the two of them and started spinning them around while laughing hysterically. I've finally waited for this day. This is so satisfying. Ha ha ha. I didn't stop her. She's just a little girl. Let her have her fun. Things had come to this. Xie Canghuai finally rushed out to protect his mother, who had been beaten into a daze. He stammered an accusation at me. How could you do this to my mother? Cui Tao seemed to be relishing the moment and couldn't hold back a laugh. Ha ha. It was too crazy. Almost terrifying. Xie Canghuai. He said he would lock me up at the estate to reflect on my actions. I didn't hesitate, immediately telling Cui Tao to pack our things and leave. Cui Tao's excitement seemed to have faded. She started to look downcast. She didn't understand. She didn't understand why we were staying at the Xie family's house. She even looked a little tearful. How can a princess be driven away like a stray dog? She seemed to have forgotten. I had already been exiled for 13 years. Seeing her like this, I just smiled and said, "Don't be sad. Let me tell you a story. Back when I was still in the countryside, I had just gotten married. I often saw neighboring couples arguing. Most of the young wives were stubborn and would go on hunger strikes or pack their bags and leave when they got angry. There was only one older woman who never lost an argument. No matter how much others cursed and scolded her, she would go eat her meals without flinching. The more they argued, the more she ate, even finding and eating all the food her mother-in-law had hidden away. At night, she would always go to bed. When couples are angry, they don't want to sleep together. She would sleep, and the man would have to sleep on the floor." This story was very interesting, and Cui Tao listened intently. She said, "Your Highness, this story is very interesting. Let me ponder it further." I teased her. "This is called I would rather wrong the whole world than let the whole world wrong me." Cui Tao's eyes suddenly cleared. I said, "I'm just joking, Cui Tao." I laughed and said, "Actually, there's no deep meaning to it. It's just that I've been in many terrible situations. But I've also learned a lot from the common people. For example, no matter what, making yourself comfortable is the most important thing. There's still no definite news from the capital, and I don't have any tokens to give her. I don't know how long we'll have to wait at the 3 yuan. There's no place as comfortable as the pear orchard I bought for us." Cui Tao finally understood. It was already dawn when we arrived at our destination. It was the season when the pears were ripe. The farmers in the village were busy working. Cui Tao had never seen such a large pear orchard before, and her eyes widened in amazement. I said, "Go play." Cui Tao immediately jumped 3 feet high. "I'll go help them." Saying she'd help, she climbed a tree and started picking pears and eating them right away. Young officials with little experience are like that, they can't resist temptation. I slept well. It was a deep, dark sleep. When I finally woke up, there was a dark figure sitting at the bedside. Seeing that I was awake, he hurriedly picked me up and sat me down before kneeling at the bedside. "Your Highness." I frowned. "You forgot to wipe your tears." It was Lu Wujiu, the secret guard sent by my eldest sister to watch over me. Sometimes he would cry for no apparent reason, but I had warned him back then. "If you dare to pity me, I will kill you." Though I am a woman, my heart is that of an emperor. He cannot swear allegiance to me while feeling sympathy for me. That is treason. He immediately stepped back, skillfully removing his upper garment to reveal his muscular torso. He placed the willow branches at my bedside with reverence, then knelt down. "Please punish me, Your Highness." I picked up the willow branch, pressed it against his back, and said calmly, "Lower yourself further." He obeyed and crawled lower. I flipped my wrist and struck his beautiful back with all my strength, leaving a thin, deep gash. His body lowered even more, but he did not utter a sound. He rose to help me change clothes while reporting to me. The woman from the Chui clan was indeed followed by many people along the way. I had already figured it out. It was only later that I realized why my elder brother had sent such a cute little thing. If I were truly designated as the crown prince, those who had once hunted me down would likely be unable to sleep at night. I had altered every letter from Cui Tao. Just thinking about how many times the pigeon might have been caught along the way made me laugh. My elder brother hadn't given me any token or mentioned when he would come to fetch me. But Lu Wujiu said, "The 11th princess is almost here." I couldn't help but laugh aloud. That's so fast. Lu Wujiu also laughed. He said, the 11th princess's running speed never disappoints her master. Among my father's many children, apart from my older brother and sister, the rest are all average. The 11th princess is different. She's not average, she's stupid. Back then, many people were hunting me down. In the end, only she was left. Because I kept provoking her, she ran faster and faster, chasing me more and more desperately. Her stupidity illuminated everyone, making them ask themselves, do I really want to be like her? In the end, I managed to escape. Now, as Lu Wujiu said, the 11th princess never disappoints me. Xie Canghuai hadn't yet discussed with the general's mansion when to marry a new wife. His entire family had been kidnapped. 11 grabbed Xie Canghuai and beat him on both sides. Hand over your princess. Xie Canghuai was beaten until he spat blood. What princess? I don't know. 11 sneered, you'd rather die than surrender. Huh? Xie Canghuai. 11, someone. Beat him severely. Xie's mother cried loudly, it's a mistake. We really don't know anything about any princess. 11 wouldn't listen. He personally beat the mother and son until their blood and flesh were scattered everywhere. He roared angrily. Feng Yunin, your man is so devoted. But can you bear to watch him die for you? He confessed, saying it might be at Li Zhuang. But 11 didn't believe him, he was just refusing to give in. How could he confess so easily? It must be a lie. Keep beating him. Chaos was brewing in the city. Yet the county magistrate's family had gone missing. Lu Qiuping was frantic, believing that Xie Canghuai had been kidnapped by the Huijun people. It wasn't until someone delivered a message to her that she rushed to the inn where the princess was staying. I waited at the door and saw her arrive in a hurry with her troops. Upon seeing me, she paused. 13, lady? Then she noticed Lu Wujiu by my side and asked in confusion. Wujiu, my younger brother? They were cousins. There was no need for her to go to the clan to find a young man for me, I had already found one myself. I didn't have time to ask her if she was surprised. At that moment, the sound of Xie's mother's screams, like a pig being slaughtered, echoed from inside the wall. Lu Wujiu took a few steps back and kicked the door open with force. After the dust settled, 11 was inside the door, and I was outside. Lu Qiuping recognized her and immediately led his men to pay their respects. Princess, Your Highness, the battle in the city is imminent. Please release the county magistrate first. 11 ignored them and stared intently at me. Lu Wujiu gave a sinister smile and knelt before me. Your Highness, I am Lu Wujiu, commander of the Night Feather Guards, reporting to the Imperial Princess. 11 charged forward with her whip raised. You wretch. She hasn't been granted her title yet. It must be said that Lu Qiuping was indeed the matriarch of the 3 armies. She immediately decided to trust me. Soldiers clad in iron armor immediately blocked the door, stopping 11. 11 screamed. How dare you? I will report this to my brother, and your entire clan will be executed. I said. Stop making a scene. In the courtyard, Xie Canghuai was unconscious. Xie's mother was kneeling beside him. She was so terrified she had lost her mind, weakly calling out to me. 10. 13. Are you really the princess? The situation had come to this. I comforted her. Don't be afraid. I won't hold this against you. Those words only made Xie's mother even more frightened, her eyes rolled back. And she fainted. In the end, we had no choice but to have the mother and son carried away to see a doctor. Lu Wujiu brought a chair for me to sit on. The current situation is as follows. Lu Qiuping is clearly on my side. Along with her men, 11 traveled all this way, and she brought a large group of secret guards with her. However, The secret guards are a branch of the Night Feather Guards. And their leader is Lu Wujiu. 11 may be as stupid as a pig, but she is not blind to the situation. She said viciously. The thing I regret most is letting you go back then. I said indifferently. Don't say such self-comforting words. Everything you think is a coincidence is actually inevitable. You've never been my match from the start. 11 said again. Once I return to the capital, I will definitely tell my royal brother that you have treasonous intentions. I laughed. There's no need for you to say it. He's always known. I ordered her to be flogged 50 times. 11 flew into a rage. Looking around her. She hasn't been granted a title yet. Who dares to touch this princess? I stood up. I will do it myself. She struggled and shouted at me. She said I had humiliated her and wanted to strip her of her dignity as a princess. Laughable. What princess's dignity? I don't want those useless things. What I want is Lu Qiuping, the daughter of the Lu family. I want her to stake her life and future on me. An uncrowned imperial princess. Lu Qiuping hesitated for a moment. She personally stripped 11 of her outer robe and held her down. I drew my horsewhip. 11 was spoiled and wouldn't take a loss. She cursed at me again. What's 50 lashes? Have the whip marks, burn marks, and knife wounds on your back healed yet? Don't forget. Those were all given to you by my own hand. I smiled and lashed her across the face with the whip. A long, bloody streak appeared on her well-maintained face. She finally stopped talking tough. 11 was beaten to a pulp, her body covered in blood and sweat. I whispered in her ear. I miss you so much, 11. Thank you for coming all this way. My royal brother didn't give me any proof of my identity. But you are the proof. Not only did you come to me, but you also caused a great deal of trouble. And I, as the future empress, will escort you to the capital to face justice. She had almost fainted, but suddenly struggled violently. I immediately covered her mouth. Be careful. The wound will reopen. That's why the joys and sorrows of people can never be understood by others. I was finally going to stand before my royal brother. I was happy. The plan is proceeding smoothly. I began making arrangements for my departure. First, I met with Lu Qiuping alone. She was also a bit nervous. Your servant drank heavily earlier and spoke recklessly. That's right. She was so drunk she wanted to dig up my ancestors and curse them. Me, what? What did you say? Who? Lu Qiuping. I smiled and gave her some serious instructions. There is a group of former soldiers outside the city who surrendered to the princess. Over the years, I have led the people of the city to dig a tunnel. Here are the blueprints. Besides hiding people, we have also stockpiled grain. There is also a caravan specifically used for communicating with the princess. I pulled a wooden hairpin from my head. Earlier, the lady gave me this jade pendant. Now I use this token to return it to my elder sister. She opened it, revealing a small seal. The princess only recognizes the seal. Lu Qiuping took it. Stunned. Her blood boiled. And her body trembled. But she hesitated. But our dynasty has never had a woman emperor. I said calmly. This is the path I must take. I will find a way. You only need to guard the border. Wait for me to send you money and men. And let the Pingyuan army fulfill their ambitions. Lu Qiuping finally burst into tears and knelt down. The 10,000 elite soldiers of Pingyuan swear to follow your highness to the death. I met with Cui Taoran again. She had been picking pears at the pear orchard for 3 days. When Lu Wujiu came to arrest her, she suddenly realized that her leader had become my subordinate. She came to her senses. She was completely shaken. It was the leader who told me that a tyrant doesn't necessarily have to be a ruthless monster, he might also be as gentle as spring breeze. Lu Wujiu stifled a laugh and remained silent. I confessed. I told him to say that. Xie Taoran was speechless. Why would your highness do such a thing? I said. You're young and naive, I just wanted to tease you a bit. I spoke sincerely. But you're so talented, I look forward to your growth. In the end, the Chui woman requested to stay at the border to gain experience. She cried. The letters I sent to the capital said many bad things about your highness. No. They were just misunderstandings. I only wish to stay at the border to atone for my sins. I held back a laugh. Oh. That's fine. Lu Wujiu asked if I wanted to go see Xie Canghuai. I said no. We had already tried so hard to communicate before, seeing him again. I didn't know what to say. Now I find Lu Wujiu much more pleasant to look at. This young man comes from a branch of the Lu family, whose clan is no longer prominent. He was assigned to be an imperial guard for Shuri back then. At that time, he wanted to take me and escape beyond the border. I told him, if you want to save me, you should go back and seize power. I only told him what to do, I didn't even bother to invest much effort in him. Now he has returned and become the leader of the Night Feather Guards. On the other hand, never mind. I don't want to think about it. I tied Xie to me and returned to the capital. To accommodate her injuries, we slowed the carriage down by at least half. Once she felt a little better, she started causing trouble again. A bunch of fools. You have them playing in the palm of your hand. I turned a page of my book and said indifferently, that's called the art of leading subordinates. Besides, I would never let them down. She kept looking for ways to provoke me. I wondered why you suddenly wanted to return to the capital. It turns out your husband is willing to divorce you to take a concubine. It's laughable. You're a lonely man. Has no one ever abandoned you in your entire life? I looked up. Have you heard that rumor? That I would ascend the throne before the age of 30. And on the day of my coronation, blood would flow like a river. And the spirit tablets of my relatives would be burned in the ancestral temple. Her pupils dilated in shock. I smiled faintly. Oh. So you've heard it. But why? Why would I have to kill so many people? She turned away. Her face pale. As I mentioned earlier, my maternal family and her maternal family were political rivals. My family was the hawkish faction, while hers was the dovish faction. Originally, she was chosen as the princess for the political marriage, but the Empress Dowager taught her to act foolishly to escape the fate, though it might not have been an act. Later, my older sister was chosen instead. At the time, I was only 3 years old and cried nonstop every day. My older sister would hold me and read to me history books. The books told of the downfall of dynasties, generals who died on the battlefield, and kings who died for their country. We also read local county annals. On a certain day of a certain month of a certain year, a certain city was massacred. Tens of thousands died. Hundreds of thousands died. The city was empty. Plague. She used this method, spending years, to gradually explain the truth to me. Marriage alliances were for stabilizing the situation and preparing for future wars. So, 13. My sister's ambition lies here. It's a good thing for a person to achieve their aspirations. She promised me we would meet again. We would reunite on the battlefield where the imperial dynasty would be restored to glory and victory. I looked up at her and at her dreams. But then, I discovered some contradictions. When I was 13, my maternal grandfather believed that after 4 generations of rest and recuperation, it was the best time to go to war. Then he was killed on trumped-up charges. Only my aunt, who is now the wife of General Bai, managed to escape from the Lin family, the imperial concubines family, who supported peace, rose to power overnight. So the marriage alliance was just a scam, right? I turned to ask Xie. They say they saved military expenses for the people during peacetime, but they embezzled it all. They seized land, committed corruption, were ignorant, and indulged in debauchery. My eldest sister sacrificed herself for the country and the people, not for these people to enjoy the people's wealth. So you understand now, right? It's understandable if I want to kill you all. 11 was finally scared and started crying. I laughed out loud. At dawn on the 5th day, the carriage was stopped. The secret guards reported that the city of Sanyuan had fallen. I frowned. What's going on? In previous years, the raids were not as intense. The secret guards said that the governor of Pingyuan Road had been poisoned by a traitor. The Grand General fell from his horse and was seriously injured 2 days ago. He passed away early yesterday morning. Last night, the city fell. I immediately asked, who is defending the city now? It's the general's wife. Reinforcements haven't arrived, and they probably won't hold out much longer. The state mountain camp is only 100 miles away. Why haven't they come to help? The secret guard said he didn't know. I quickly calculated in my mind. 11 peeked out cautiously. There was a fleeting look of triumph in his eyes. Right. The commander of the Zhoushan camp is her uncle. I thought for a moment and said, wait here. I lifted the curtain and got into the carriage. 11 said triumphantly, court affairs are not as simple as you think. If you beg me, I can get my uncle to send troops. I said, oh, I hate people who make demands when the country is in danger. You're so naive. I drew my dagger and stabbed her directly. 11's eyes widened. You. Naive was her. I took a blood-stained piece of jewelry from her body, imitated her handwriting, and forged a letter claiming she was trapped at the border, asking her uncle for help. Then I wrote a letter to my imperial brother. Just 4 words. In wild cursive. I humbly inquire after your well-being. Once the ink dried, I stuffed it into her bosom and sent her body back with it. 11 struggled for a long time before leaving one final words. Your heart is truly ruthless. I said, you were really quite annoying. It was they who called me a tyrant and chased me for so many years. I was truly heartless. So why be shocked? Unlike before, when the Huicheng people looted and left. This time, the Huicheng suddenly sent 400,000 troops to besiege the border. Lu Qiuping led her troops in retreat to Shuliang Pass in disarray. If this line of defense was broken, the Huicheng would quickly advance and capture the entire Pingyuan Road, pointing their sights on the central plains. An entire day and night passed. Lu Qiuping led her troops into battle 7 times, leaving them exhausted. Her husband's body lay in the room, and she hadn't even had a chance to look at it. As night fell again, she hugged her long spear on the city wall and just closed her eyes. That annoying bugle call sounded once more. Lu Qiuping suddenly opened her eyes to see the terrified face of the woman from the Chui family. She couldn't help but laugh. You poor girl. You really are unlucky. Just arrived, and already faced with such a situation. The enemy was numerous and powerful, planning to attack in waves to wear them down. They seemed to know that reinforcements wouldn't come. There was no chance of victory. Chui Taoran, filled with anger, told her to escape. Go find the princess and ask her to intervene on our behalf. Escape was impossible. The commander had fallen from his horse in front of everyone, and morale was low. At this moment, the most important thing was to coordinate effectively. Otherwise, her soldiers and the many civilians would fall into chaos and be slaughtered by the enemy. Lu Qiuping looked up at the moon in the sky. She felt a mix of relief and sorrow. She pulled the wooden hairpin from her hair and handed it to Chui. If you manage to escape alive, take this back to the princess. Tell her. What should she say? That they had defended the city for so many years, knowing full well that the Huirong people were untrustworthy and would eventually attack with a large army? Tell her about the soldiers' unwillingness. In the end, she just smiled, Just tell her that Xiaoping was incompetent and couldn't wait for the prince. The city walls were under fierce attack. Lu Xiaoping divided her troops into 2 groups. She ordered the only sons, fathers and sons, and brothers who were all in the army to step forward. They were responsible for leading the citizens of the city to flee south. The rest would follow her. The city was about to fall. In that moment, Lu Qiubing even felt a violent fetal movement. But as she rode past her soldiers, she remained utterly calm, her horse's hooves clattering loudly. Like her voice. My fellow brothers in arms. On the path to the underworld, there will be no parents, wives, children, or siblings for you. Only the Lu family of Fan Yang and you, my lords, will go with me. Do you fear? Do you hesitate? In that instant, the soldiers' shouts echoed across the sky. The dying spirits of the soldiers reignited. Cui Taoran clenched the wooden hairpin in her hand. In that instant, she finally understood the prince. After witnessing such a horrific scene, it was truly difficult to slow down for the sake of sentimental family ties. Lu Qiubing ordered the city gates to be opened and launched the final charge. When I arrived, Lu Qiubing had already led the troops to lure the Huarong people into a small gorge. The Huarong people attacked them from both sides, slaughtering them in the middle. But I could see that Lu Qiubing was using the time it took for her own men to be slaughtered to delay the enemy, protecting the surviving forces and civilians as they retreated. That's right. At this point, her strategy was still clear. Lu Wujiu urged me to hold our ground. Your Highness, we only have 3,000 secret guards, and none of them have ever been to battle. We should wait for reinforcements. I was still pondering how to break the deadlock. Disturbed by the noise, I grew furious. You don't need to think so much. All you need to do is die before me. Lu Wujiu's eyes cleared instantly. Yes. Even in a desperate situation, there was still a glimmer of hope. The Huicheng people were skilled in horseback archery, and once they entered the gorge, they had to dismount and fight on foot. Close combat was actually not their strong suit compared to our troops. However, they had an overwhelming numerical advantage. Both ends were also tightly sealed by shield formations. I immediately gave the order, prepare the boulders. Break the shield formation first. In an instant, countless boulders rolled down, crashing into the shield formations at the front and rear. Yes. I only had 3,000 elite guards with no battle experience. But the Huarong people didn't know that. I ordered someone to shout from the mountain, Qingwu camp. Bai Qingfeng has come to assist. Bai Qingfeng was my uncle, who had repeatedly routed the Huarong troops. In reality, he was thousands of miles away. It didn't matter, we would shout. In an instant, the valley echoed with cries of white general. The Huarong troops fell into chaos, and the Pingyuan army found their weakness. There was a gentle slope to the north, and soon people began to charge up it. Seeing that the enemy camp was in complete disarray, I personally led Lu Wujiu down the mountain. I found Lu Qiubing covered in blood in the valley, but I didn't expect her to have given birth to a child at the bottom of the valley. You scared me to death. Secret guards are skilled in lightness techniques and assassination. They certainly can't charge into battle. So I ordered them to split into small groups, fix their targets, and move back and forth in waves to assist the Pingyuan army in retreating to higher ground. I also instructed those on the mountaintop to make as much noise as possible and snipe at both ends of the gorge. The enemy outnumbered us 10-1, but we managed to hold on until dawn. Then the reinforcements from the Zhou mountain camp arrived and annihilated the enemy forces in the gorge. The commander of the Zhou Shan camp, Qin Fa, was the elder brother of the current Empress Dowager. When he saw me carrying the unconscious Lu Qiubing down the mountain, he paused for a moment. I faced the dawn, gazing at him with disdain. This is me, Suaning. In that instant, his beard couldn't hide his complex emotions. He probably never imagined that his niece was only 11. It must have been because of the betrayal he committed against my maternal family years ago. The hundreds of heads of the Lin family. And the memory of the late empress who died in battle. He clenched the sword in his hand tightly. Lu Wuzhou stepped in front of me and smiled. Congratulations, General, for defeating the enemy and achieving great merit. Chen Fa was moved. He couldn't bear to give up such a great achievement. Your Excellency, I pay my respects to the princess. I led the troops back to the ruined city of Su Liang to rest and recover. Lu Qiuping was seriously injured, and the newborn was very weak. So I took care of her personally. When she woke up, she grabbed my hand and cried, "Your Highness, why did you come back? You shouldn't have come back." I embraced her and comforted her. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." Lu Qiuping struggled to push me away. "Chen Fa, you have treasonous intentions." At that moment, Lu Wuzhou announced from outside, "Your Highness, the traitorous general has been executed." I shouted, "Come in." He pushed open the door and brought in Chen Fa's severed head. Lu Qiuping looked at me in disbelief. I said, "You must learn to trust me." Chen Fa was not a military genius. During that bloody power struggle years ago, my maternal clan's influence was completely eradicated. It wasn't until my elder brother ascended the throne that we managed to regain some of our former strength. He took advantage of that opportunity to seize the position of general. Over the years, I have been closely monitoring the state mountain garrison. I also know that he indulged in debauchery within the military and had little prestige among the troops. Yet he dared to attempt to claim this unprecedented great achievement. How laughable. Therefore, I lured him back and ordered him to handle the remains of the deceased governor. Then, in the spirit hall, I had him surrounded and executed on charges of treason, seizing his 5,000 troops. The hasty withdrawal of the troops raised my suspicions. Their main force must not have suffered significant losses. Later, I learned that the prince leading the troops was beheaded in the gorge. They will certainly return with renewed force. We must act swiftly to prepare. I immediately wrote a letter to my uncle by Qingfeng. The messenger pigeon should arrive in 2 days at most. 5 days later, he replied, saying he would secretly mobilize troops for me. The main force will arrive within a month. Have Pingyuan Road find a way to delay them for a month. Meanwhile, I must return to the capital within a month to settle the charge of secretly mobilizing troops. To add to my joy, the escaped Cui Taoran brought back a letter from the princess. Sister asks about your well-being. Have you arrived at the garrison in Meiqing? I remained calm. But at that moment, I hid and cried secretly. That stone city, which my family and the princess had spent 4 generations building, had finally been completely taken over by our princess. Not only had the front lines been stretched, but they also had the advantage of depth. Even the princess had intervened. 10 years of drinking ice water couldn't cool my burning blood. This battle must be fought, even if we have to fight to the death. The last thing I did upon returning to the capital was finally meet Xie Canghuai. He and his mother fled with Song Yue during the chaos in the city. Xie's mother was killed along the way. He was encountered by Cui Taoran, who was rushing to the city, and was captured and brought back. During the interrogation, we discovered that Song Yue was the traitor who had personally administered the slow-acting poison to the general. She wasn't even a Hui Rong person. She was no different from the other 99 orphaned girls that Lu Qiuping had kindly taken in. The Hui Rong people had merely promised them wealth and status. At that moment, I looked at Xie Cang. The wounds on his body from being beaten by Shuri had not yet healed. Wife. I lowered my eyes. You have changed your heart. You want to take a concubine, and even dishonor this palace. I could have protected you. But how could you betray your country? Xie Canghuai hurriedly grabbed the hem of my skirt and cried, "Wife, save me!" I didn't know she was a spy. She seduced me and used me, causing me to betray you. What could I do? He had saved my life. My life was precious. But there was something more precious than my life, the lives of my subjects. I reached out and gently stroked his face. My sword is swift, I won't let you suffer too much. I personally beheaded Xie Canghuai before the 3 armies. In the instant his head fell, I couldn't hear the cries of the soldiers or the border villagers. All I saw was a flock of wild geese flying across the vast sky. The autumn sun was blindingly bright. I knew that the 13-year-old girl had also died with him. From now on, I must stay vigilant. No matter how many storms I face in the future, no matter how dire my situation becomes, I must be strong and never again indulge in romantic attachments. I rushed back to the capital with Xie Canghuai and Lu Wujiu. By the time we reached the city gates, it was already midnight. Xie Canghuai was worried and said, "Why don't we wait until tomorrow morning and disguise ourselves as commoners to enter the city?" The border forces had declared war without authorization. Now the pro-peace faction in the court was in a panic, and they feared me returning to settle accounts with them. She was afraid I would be killed in the street by desperate men. I said, "No need." Then I directly ordered Lu Wujiu to knock on the door. "Princess Suining has returned to the capital and will report to His Majesty." Xie Canghuai was terrified. "This is suicide." I smiled. "You don't understand my royal brother. He was waiting for me." I only realized it now. Why did I laugh when Xie Canghuai cried about being unappreciated? Because when it comes to unfulfilled ambitions, none can match my family. The 3 children of the Empress are the most outstanding among this generation of imperial children. And after her careful guidance, we share the same political views. But upon closer inspection, the smartest is my royal brother, followed by my royal sister, and lastly, me. My eldest sister chose to infiltrate the enemy camp to plan opportunities for the imperial court. My eldest brother chose to adopt the murder of our mother as his own mother, enduring humiliation and hardship to remain in the court and negotiate. But my heart is the cruelest. I had planned to mock my eldest brother once I arrived in the capital. To mock him for being dragged down in this treacherous swamp, his body completely broken. But one day, I realized something. I knew my older brother had been sending people to watch me all along. He didn't care whether I lived or died, he was only watching me. Then Xie Canghuai was sent to the 3 Yuan. Could it be that he did this on purpose? Soon, the city gates opened. Looking out, the capital city was ablaze with lights in the dead of night. 2 rows of black-armored soldiers filed out. They formed a line that stretched all the way to the end of the city gates. Then, from between the 2 rows, a white horse carrying the gravely ill king emerged slowly. He had come to fetch me personally. Under the moonlight, I saw his face, which resembled that of 13 years ago. He still stood tall and straight, showing no signs of impending death. Lu Wujiu and Xie Canghuai hurriedly dismounted and bowed, "Long live the emperor." He gestured to me. "Come." I rode my horse to his side. He smiled sincerely. "My sister has returned." My elder brother spent his final days paving the way for me. He conferred upon me the title of Crown Princess. Then he took the opportunity to reopen the case of the Lin family, using it as a pretext to purge the court. The Empress Dowager was deposed. On the day she was dragged out of Xingqing Palace, she cursed my elder brother viciously. "The greatest regret of my life is that I did not kill you, you ungrateful wretch." I found it amusing. Back then, I was only concerned with convincing my brother to recognize the traitor as his mother. Now, upon reflection, how did he manage to make the traitor accept him? My brother lived as a benevolent ruler for 13 years. But his life was too short. On his deathbed, he could only resort to mass slaughter. On the day my elder brother died, the palace was empty. I walked slowly toward him. He took a shallow breath, as if waking from a beautiful dream. "Yunin, you've come." I sat by the bed and held his hand. I dreamed of you when you were a child. At 3 years old, you were rolling around at the gate of the Hongwen Academy, saying you wanted to study. I continued softly, because you didn't start your education until you were 5. I decided to study 2 years longer than you. Yes. I have always been competitive since I was a child. A concubine from the Jiannan province once mocked me, saying, "You even eat shit with a spoon." Father taught me and Yinning the art of ruling. But you insisted on listening too. I said, "Back then, I vowed to outlive you, you sickly old man, and become emperor myself." He let out a soft laugh, and his withered, sickly face briefly came alive. "Yunin, my younger sister, your elder brother has disappointed and hurt you. I am deeply ashamed." I lowered my head. "Elder brother. Yunin is grown now and understands. Back then, our maternal clan was so powerful, yet we were suspected by the emperor and wiped out overnight. How could we not think of fighting for survival? These years, he has suffered 100 times more than I have, even being poisoned with over a dozen toxins, leading to his untimely death. A dream of a prosperous era requires the sacrifice of many. And now, only I can stand up." I asked the question that had been tormenting me. "Brother, do you really think I can do it?" His voice grew faint. "Compassion does not lead an army, and kindness does not govern a state. In my heart, my sister is a natural-born ruler, but she still needs to be tested. Alas, my time is too short." He did not finish his words before taking his last breath. 10 years later, the emperor passed away, and his posthumous title was Emperor Wen. The imperial court crowned the first female emperor in history and changed the national name to Qiwu. Many opposed this. Already anxious from the wars, I had them all executed. Before my elder brother passed away, the Lin family had not yet been fully exonerated. A minister stepped forward, claiming this was questioning my father's authority, an act of great disrespect. So I removed my father's spirit tablet from the ancestral temple, cursing him as I threw it into the flames, shouting, "Father, why did you rebel?" They then whispered that the annals of history would condemn me for eternity. Oh, I didn't kill the historians. But as an empress, I was destined to be condemned by history. So it doesn't matter. My elder brother was right, I was born to be a ruler. He secured my position, and now that I have returned, the entire court cannot withstand my imperial aura. In the first 10 years of the Qiwu era, I used Bai Qingfeng and his son as generals, launching 6 major battles and 25 minor skirmishes. We won most and lost few. In the 11th year of the Qiwu era, I completely stabilized domestic affairs and personally led the troops to pacify Pingyuan. By my side were still Lu Wujiu and Shui Taoran. The commander of the Pingyuan army was Lu Qiuping and her eldest son. The Pingyuan army was no longer the same as before. These young faces no longer bore the confusion and suffering of the past. Now, the young warriors yearned for military glory. Their spirits were high. I personally led 5,000 light cavalry, charging 1,000 miles to capture the court of the Huarong king and take him prisoner. On the day we returned victorious, we passed by the San Yuan post station again. Lu Qiuping called her daughter to kneel before me. "Your life was saved by the emperor on the battlefield." The little girl was named Xian Xian, only 11 years old. Looking gentle and quiet, she timidly knelt before me. Lu Qiuping sighed helplessly. "She's too timid and doesn't like going out much." I laughed. In this world today, girls on the frontier can do as they please. It's not like before, when every girl had to be fierce to survive. I asked Xian Xian if she wanted to go to the capital to study at one of the many girls' schools. I explained that these schools had been established by my elder brother, who had opened many such institutions to educate women and select female officials. As I spoke, I suddenly froze. Lu Qiuping looked surprised and said, "Your Majesty." I murmured, "Nothing." I finally realized that my elder brother had established the girls' schools long ago. Waiting for me. Waiting for me. The only female emperor of this dynasty. To ascend the throne. So I wouldn't feel so isolated. My elder brother has been gone for 11 years. Even today, I still cannot fully understand his intentions. I rushed out the door and rode out of the city alone. I ran to the fields, wanting to let out a cry. But there were people nearby. I could only cover my face and cry. Your fathers. I was ruthless and killed without mercy. Now that I'm middle-aged, I suddenly realize I'm just a child. But everyone who loved me is gone. I want to die. I don't know what to do. In the fields, several strong men had their shirts torn off, were fitted with ox harnesses, and were being led to plow the fields. An old farmer held a leather whip and followed behind, cracking it loudly. Those were the former princes I had captured and brought back. Watching them, I smiled again. I nodded in satisfaction. Mother, older brother, older sister, look quickly. I'm the strongest. Suddenly, a shout came from the distance. 13? Is that you? I abruptly lifted my head. There stood a woman in the distance, waving urgently at me. I stared wide-eyed, confirming again and again. Eldest sister. She had been taken hostage by the Huicheng king and kidnapped deep into the grasslands. I searched the entire royal court but couldn't find her. The Huicheng people said she was dead. I never expected her to escape and return on her own. At that moment, I was completely overwhelmed. I rushed to her side and even tripped and fell. She tried to help me up, but I clung to her legs, crying and babbling incoherently. I'll tell you how strong I am. You seem pretty strong too. Let's have a contest to see who's stronger. My eldest sister smelled of fresh grass. She had been crying, but then she started laughing. There's no need to compete. Both I and your older brother know that you're the strongest. The end.